your birthday, Sister Ellen.
So other things with the school corporation.
Back to business.
Back to
Seemed
business.
like a quick summer, but yeah, things are good. No complaints. I'm ready for winter break.
You ready for winter break?
Back
Back to business.
We're looking back to school for a week and a half.
I don't want winter break yet, it's cold.
Yeah, I mean, this weather's been delightful. I like
Yeah,
47 degrees.
No. I liked it better when it was hot.
Oh,
Heat.
I know everyone but you. I'm Cindy Flory, the new
Hi,
clerk
Cindy.
treasurer.
Brad Anderson.
Yeah,
I'm the representative of TSC.
Oh, okay. When I came to the door, I thought he was Rob. I told him.
I got to say,
Did you hear me telling him?
I must be looking awful slender.
I told him he had to go around, but
I know.
yeah, I was screwed.
That's fine. I thought that door was always locked. Now
So
I know.
we're live. We don't have to start yet, but I went ahead and did it live, so people can watch us. Watch you guys. I don't know.
you're getting out of the
Yeah, I'm trying.
what?
I don't want to sit over here, sit over there. It's cold sitting over there where he is. The air is really
Well, you're right over.
yes.
And
Good.
then I would think it.
Good.
Yeah, I can feel it now.
And I think there's one right behind you too.
Yeah, I feel air too. I'm gonna go ahead and start. This is August 27th, 2005. This is the meeting of the Dayton Redevelopment Commission. Tracy, would you do roll call? Steve Shuley.
Here.
Nancy Oswald. Here. Becky Beavers. Yes. Casey Bratton. Rod Hangy, not here. Brad Anderson.
Here.
Do a roll call for
Cindy.
extras. Cindy. Cindy. Sure.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then. All right. Mark is our guest today, and he would like to give a little presentation on how a TIF works and the revenue that it can bring into a community. Mark?
Mark Burmester, 264 Washington Street. Thank you for letting me speak this evening. So the concept of the TIF is, if you don't know exactly what's going on with it, it can be a little perplexing, I guess. So Vicki and I have been talking about this for a little while, and she looked some things up and sent them to me, and I basically copied them. So this is at least these first 2 pages that I have here are a lot of hard work she did looking at this. So I thought we'd go over this, and basically I'm just going to read it, and then if anybody has any questions while we're going along, just feel free to break in, and I'll see if I can answer them, and if I can't, then we'll have Patrick answer them. So a TIF district is defined as an area where the local government freezes the base property value for taxing purposes. So taxes from the base assessed value keep going to the taxing bodies, school, county, township, library, etc. So if you've got a piece of farm ground and it's currently being taxed, then you TIF that piece of farm ground, or it doesn't have to be farm ground, but any property that you TIF. But in the example of farm ground, that piece of property has a base tax. It's being taxed a certain amount to start with, and that's what the base tax that they're talking about here. And so that amount, whatever that tax amount is for that piece of property, continues on after the TIF is enacted. and then we'll get into how the TIF works on that. Taxes from the increment, that's the increase in property value after that piece of farm ground is developed, are captured and go into a special TIF fund, which can be used for public improvements, infrastructure, or incentives to attract further development. Got a copy here I want to give Rob.
You can sit up here, Rob. I'll sit out there.
That's all right, I'll sit here. There you go, Rob.
That's where we're starting. So again, that base amount that say for instance the farm was paying, those taxes continue to go to the school, the county, the township, the library, once the TIF is enacted. So, and then anything that increases, when the TIF is enacted, then any taxes that increase from that then go to the TIF, into a special TIF fund, which can be used for public improvements, infrastructures, or incentives to attract further development. So we'll use this example here. Before a vacant lot, before the TIF was created, the lot was assessed at $100,000. The property tax rate in this case was 2%. So the annual taxes on that was $2,000. This $2,000 split amongst the school, the county, the city, the library, etc. So now the TIF is put in place and a new commercial building is built on that vacant lot. So now the new assessed value of that property is $600,000, and the property tax on that would be $12,000. So the distribution is the original $2,000 for this $12,000 how it's distributed. The original base $2,000 continues to go to the school, county, so on and so forth. The increment value, the $12,000 minus $2,000 or $10,000, gets put into the TIF fund for them to use for improvements, infrastructure, or incentives to attract further development. That $10,000 can be used to pay for sidewalks, street lights, sewer improvements, or help finance developers' costs through an incentive agreement. So there's numerous things that you can do with it. You can't just do anything with your TIF money. There are limitations. These are some examples of things that could happen. So then example number 2 is the redevelopment of a blighted property. So you have an old warehouse. Before the old warehouse was valued before the TIF at $250,000. And the tax rate of 2% was $5,000. After the TIF redevelopment, the property is redeveloped into apartments, for instance. New assessed value is $2 million. Now those taxes are at 2%, or $40,000. So the distribution on this would be the base, the $5,000 that it started out with, continues to go to the taxing bodies. The increment amount, $35,000 in this case, goes into the TIF fund. And that $35,000 can be pledged towards a bond issued to help pay for new roads, parking structure, or utility upgrades in the district. The increment doesn't reduce anyone's taxes. The property owner still pays the full amount. The only difference is where the growth portion of the taxes goes. Then after the TIF expires, in 20, 25 years in certain cases, the full new assessed value goes back into the regular tax rolls benefiting the schools and other taxing bodies permanently. So in other words, you took a piece of property that was not gathering very much tax on it, then you were entrusted with developing that property and increasing the tax revenue on it. Eventually the TIF goes away, and then everybody benefits from it because the town's going to be getting more tax revenue, the school corporation, the county's going to be getting more tax revenue. So that's growth on an area. Any questions?
Yeah, so you have a TIF, and, you say it expires, and the clock starts ticking once a bond is issued, correct?
That's how I understand it.
So what if there's no bond ever issued on that property?
To my knowledge, at this point, the clock hasn't started ticking yet.
So it could be 45 years?
I suppose
Really?
it could be, but
I mean, you know.
unless the state changes the law at some point and changes that. I think the expectation is that you will take your TIF money and you will do something with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, otherwise it's just sitting there in the bank doing nothing for anybody, really. So, did that answer your question?
Yeah. As I was going through some of these things, also there's another tool that's called the commercial tax abatements. And I thought maybe we ought to talk about that a little bit. Tax abatements are an economic tool used by governments to incentivize businesses in real, like buildings, and personal, like machinery, property. So real property, buildings and machinery. And here's a breakdown of how they work. Tax abatements in Indiana apply only to the increased assessed value resulting from new construction, rehabilitation, or eligible equipment purchases, not on the existing value of the property. So again, it's got a base, and you work from that base. And these abatements generally provide partial or full relief from property taxes for a fixed duration, usually ranging from 1 to 10 years, depending on the ordinance. So they're kind of used as an incentive. You want to have a developer put a big complex in, and you want to say, well, we'll reduce your taxes over some period of time, and that incentivizes you to do that. Tax abatements are not mandatory. That the board can decide if they want to give tax abatements or not. So for real property, it applies to new construction or improvements, but only tax relief on the added value. And personal property applies to eligible equipment or machinery that hasn't been previously taxed in Indiana. And so where do these apply? Tax abatements are only in areas available in areas designated economic revitalization areas. And these areas are typically identified by local governing bodies, such as city council, town council, as needing economic stimulation, often due to underdevelopment, obsolescence, or economic decline. What's the application approval process? Well, you can somewhat write your own rules, but I think this is how it's generally done. Identification and request. The property owner or company usually submits a statement of benefits outlining the intended investment, job creation, infrastructure impact, so on and so forth. Then you have local review. The request is, in public process, the request is evaluated by local bodies, such as the Redevelopment Commission or an incentive review committee, and then proceeds to the city or town council for formal approval. Some municipalities also require a public hearing, especially when it involves economic revitalization areas designations. Approval and implementation. Once approved, the abatement begins and the property owner or the company will receive tax relief according to the agreed schedule.
So 3, 5, 7, 10 years. And the annual compliance reporting, every year the company must report on compliance. It's stating if they've fulfilled the things that they said they were going to do in order for you to give them this tax abatement. And, such as job numbers, wages, and investments that are being built. So that's how you hold their feet to the fire. And then talks about a filing fee. So this schedule I have here is just an example. It doesn't have to be this way, but perhaps in the first year you would give them 100% tax relief. They wouldn't pay any tax for on the items they're eligible for. 100% they would pay any tax on it. The second year they might only pay 90%. Third year 80%, so on and so forth, down until the 11th year when the tax abatement would expire and the taxes are paid in full. So they've brought all these jobs as long as they fulfill what they said they were going to do, and so they've increased the tax base, and so you've helped them get along there. And this is a tool that some places ask for. I was reading, I think Lafayette requires a minimum $250,000 investment to even for you to even be considered for a tax abatement. So, how did I do, Patrick?
Good.
All right, great. Any questions?
So each municipality would set what that threshold is for when an abatement would be offered?
I believe that's the case of how that would be, and it might even be able to be done on a case-by-case basis. So I don't know. So because our tax rate is significantly less than Lafayette's, I know typically Lafayette will do a 10-year tax abatement. From what I've seen on the abatements that they've done, we may decide to maybe do a 5-year abatement because our taxes are half of what theirs are. So, that in itself should make us attractive for businesses, I think. But again, this is just for general speaking terms right now. There's nothing set in stone here. The state doesn't mandate any of this that I know of.
So the abatement would start once the project is completed? Not a percentage completed or 100% completed?
That's a good question, Nikki. I don't know the answer to that.
I think that would depend. Generally speaking, the first item, municipality or a redevelopment commission can offer no tax abatement to developers. It's, that's an incentive that you could provide in order to attract businesses if you so desire. In terms of, when that tax abatement would start, I have to look at that, but generally I think it would be tied to, the project. Because
I believe we could set that as, okay.
It would be set when there's tax,
shovel in the
increase.
ground or
Maybe
doors open.
some point of performance that you would want to tie that to.
Because if you gave it to them before they put a shovel in the ground, there's no guarantee they even have to start the project.
Well, and there's no real incentive. That's not really, if the assessed tax value for a piece of undeveloped property is basically nothing, then giving them a tax abatement before they start the project on basically nothing,
Yeah.
it's kind of a lose-lose for everybody involved.
They wouldn't want to lose a year of tax abatement without need or
Yeah.
having some benefit from it.
Yeah.
So
Because giving them a year of tax abatement before there's any real assessed value on the property doesn't really, that's not much of an incentive.
okay, so the next thing I want to do is I want to look at some real world situations. We kind of got the benefit of being able to look at after the fact here now. First off, I don't know how many of you actually get your taxes sent to you, that you have to pay them yourself. Some people have them escrowed, and mine are always sent to me, so I don't know how the escrow process works, but every year, in the spring of the year, they send me a nice big packet of money I owe them. So I just, on this page A1 here is a tax bill from 2016 for the property that Stoops was built on. Now this is all public information. You can pull this stuff off of the internet. So it's all part of Beacon. You can look up any of these things. So in 2016, the land that Stoops was built on, and this is the amount I got circled at the top is for May, and then there's another payment due in November. So we got roughly $1,200 is what that piece of farm ground was being taxed at back in 2016. And then if you go to page A2, still in 2016, you can start looking at how the breakdown of all the taxes is calculated. On the bottom columns here, I circled the city. So that city tax is the amount of money that the town of Dayton received in taxes from that property for 2016. You can see the county, if you look at that in that column, the county received $252, township about $5, school corporation about $600, so on and so forth. So you can see all these things that they were taxed on, and you can see at the bottom of that column, it reads $1,217, which is twice what this, which these two numbers on the front page added up together equal. So that's how you can look at your tax rate. So now, if we fast forward to 2025 on that same property, you'll see that for May and November, the taxes for them were $47,000, almost $48,000. So because of that development, the tax base went up significantly. And so the total for that was $95,000 for the year. Okay. If you go to page A4 then, where I've got the little arrow on the right there, that is our tax rate that is multiplied by, take that times the assessed value, and that's how you come up with these taxes. So you can see the assessed value on that property is now $5,500,000 in 2025, where if you look back in 2016, the assessed value on that property was $64,500. So it increased substantially, but it also increased the taxes substantially. And you can also see then on the column at the bottom where I've got it circled, now the city taxes are $23,000. So the city taxes went from $323.16 to $23,000 in 2025. So that's been a real benefit to the town. I don't think it's caused a whole lot of police problems. Well, there's been a couple, but so Stoops has been really good for us, in my opinion. And so, any questions on that? Comments?
That was not in a TIF, right?
Pardon me?
That property wasn't TIF'd.
Yes, that property is.
It is TIF'd.
It is TIF, yes. And that's what I'm getting, that's on the next page then. If you go to B, do you have B, Rob?
No.
There was one missing. Okay, so This sheet right here is a list of all of the properties that are currently in our TIF district. All right. This was provided to us by the auditor, I think.
Yeah, Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer. So, what you'll notice on this, and we'll look at Stoops property in particular here. You see with the base value, which we talked about with the TIF in the beginning, the base amount for that property is $1,329, and then you see what the TIF amount is the $94,286. So that's the amount of money that's going into the TIF fund right now. Okay. So, and then there's numerous other properties on here. I didn't necessarily put any names on there, but the total amount coming into our TIF right now, on the second page at the bottom there, the base value for all the properties that are currently in our TIF area, about $44,000. And the amount of TIF money coming in now was $105,000.
Is that total for the period, total for the year, or total since we tipped it?
Oh, that would be for the year. Or for the year or 6 months. We never did completely clarify.
It says year on
It says
that.
year.
Year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyhow, you can see that there's a significant amount of money that's coming into the TIF fund to be used for something to make even more money for not only the town, but also for the county and the school corporation and so on and so forth, when that opportunity finally arises.
So this is only good for so long. Do we know where we're at year-wise on this?
Well, we have never issued a bond. So currently, we are on year 0.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't think it's going to last 45 years, but I know I'm not. That's kind of where we're at on that on a yearly basis. And later on, Cindy's I saw on here that she's going to say what the amount that's in the TIF fund currently is. Because the TIF's been going since 2021, maybe? 2020, something like that. Okay, so any other questions on that? All right. And then the last thing I got here is I'm going to kind of say maybe opportunity lost here, but this is the SIA warehouses on Haggerty. Okay. Back in, I don't know, when the cars came to us at one time and they wanted us to provide them water and wastewater service for their property. My understanding is that the SIA warehouse was going to be built on that property. Okay.
The car property.
On the car property that's is now part of Lafayette, unfortunately. So anyhow, it ended up being built on Haggerty. I think everybody knows where it's at. You've all probably driven by it. So, but I wanted you to look at these numbers on this thing and see what that warehouse is generating, can generate. And so, on the first page here, see the assessed value of that property is $40 million.
Which handout is that?
That's on C.
Cool.
You have that. So the assessed value on that property is $40,500,000 essentially. And then it says minus deductions. Okay, so what are its deductions? Well, go down to the bottom of this page, C1, and you'll see the abatement. So that property was abated. And for 2025, their abatement is $31 million. And if you look to the left, just to the left of that, you'll see in 2024 it was $33 million, $34 million. So the amount of abatement that what we talked about earlier, it continues to decrease. And that means they have less deductions. And so then their tax, what they're going to pay tax on, increases every year. And eventually that abatement will go away. Or if they make additional investments, they may have an additional abatement on there, but that would be for new things. Because remember, the base stays the same. Anything new can be, I think that can be added to. Is that right? Sounds right. Okay. So now the next thing you see here is, since that's in Lafayette, this is Lafayette's tax rate. 2.4 is their tax rate. So you take the amount that they owe, the $8,700,000, multiply that by the tax rate, and what they owe in 2025 is $210,000. Okay. And if you looked just to the left of that 210, last year it was $123,000. So again, the abatement makes a difference, but that's good for them. They can increase their value, and eventually it's going to be good for everybody. So this is in a TIF. This area is in a TIF right now, Lafayette's TIF, and this money is, I would say, the majority of this $210,000 is going to their TIF. Now, this property was split off from a much larger farm property when it was built, so its assessed value was probably very similar to whatever the assessed value for the farmland up here with Stoops was. So it wasn't very much. So right now I'm saying that Lafayette's probably getting almost $200,000 a year from that one property.
Per year.
Per year. And that's this year. Next year it might be 330. Oh, you already know what it is. Yeah. So it increases. It's going to increase every year. On C2, I just kind of inverted the pages here, but that was their tax bill. So, you know, Rocky and I were called into a meeting about some property that they were looking to develop, the car property that's next to ours, the Lafayette car property next to ours, and we're trying to work something out together on that. And that thing fell through, and I can't say a whole lot about it other than the fact that was a $66 million project. So this is a $40 million assessed value. That would have been $66 million. That would have put a lot of money into this town. You know, people want to do a lot of things here. They want to build community centers. They want to have parks. They want to have all these things. It takes money to do these things. You got to get that money from somewhere. So I just wanted to give everybody kind of an overview of all this, and to think when opportunity strikes, to think hard about what the consequences can be, the positive consequences can be by using the Redevelopment Commission and TIFing. And eventually when this TIF goes away, the county's going to be getting a lot more money than they did when it was farm ground. The school corporation is going to be getting a lot more money. All this stuff is all long-term things that we probably won't be able to benefit from immediately, but that'll be your legacy that you leave for this town.
Question. Could you explain, or just know what you know, why did Carr decide to go you to take his business to Lafayette.
Do we really need to get into that?
I don't know. Maybe a generic version, if it's that sensitive.
Well, I'll just tell you what Warren Buffett says. Money goes where it's well treated.
It's fair.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, approval of minutes. Tracy, you wanna read all of them? Speed reading here? Speed reading.
Okay. Reading a minute from, well, I'll read the meetings from November 19th, 2025. Minutes for meeting March 24th, 2024 have not been compiled. We'll address the next meeting. Bridget discussed finance, 120,234.88. Also covered the December 2024 pending disbursements along with the explanations of how to read / understand the fund report. Old business, none, new business. 2025 pending plan discussed and finalized has to be submitted to Gateway by November 1st. Motion passed. Mark asked the DRC to allocate the $25,000 that was passed for the police fire to the town to offset spending salary increases for a police department with new legislation that went into effect in 2024. Redevelopment committees are permitted to do so. Remember discussion we will review at the end of 2026. Motion passed, Steve abstained. Also discussed was a South Street extension in anticipation of future property development around Masonic Temple. An engineering plan from 2018 for the extension was reviewed by, is it Calvin Salvin? Is that what it, is that? Colin? I couldn't
Yeah.
understand the
Okay.
transcript of BFNS in December 2024. Per BFNS, the study seems valid and useful as long as the plan is the same for the development. Issues were brought up regarding how the steep drop to get to Adams Road would be addressed and costs would need to be updated to current dollars. Public comments none, commission comments none, meeting is adjourned. But then there was additional information. Do you want me to read all that?
Cause it's a lot, I don't know. Do we need it read? Everybody's got a copy. By the way, every member's gonna have to sign sign the minutes, cause it's gotta get uploaded to Gateway, I believe, so. Is everybody okay with her not reading the balance of those minutes, or everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Alright. Minutes approved. Alright, Steve?
Yep.
Nancy?
Yes.
Me? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I do a motion in a second.
I was gonna,
Oh, I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
Motion to second the approval of the minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Do I have to do another vote then? Okay. Tracy? Yes. Me? Yes.
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, next is the report. Cindy, I know we talked about this today. You got under control?
I'm not sure about that. I can't say that. I do know because our consultant is helping until I'm trained. Oh, so you wrote on mine, didn't you? The balance is 169, 326 and 39 cents. But that's because the consultant didn't know where to put the funds that came in. Did we decide that June 27th is when it came in?
Yes.
So I'm
it
looking
did come
into that.
in. Yeah, I found the report. And so I just added that, the 97,000, I just added that to the 169.
I see.
That gives the current balance of 267, 142, 63, so.
So I will take care of that. I
Okay.
mean, I'll make sure that gets in the right place.
So the fund report I have attached is for, it's through 7/125, which is the same balance as what we're showing as the end of December, and that's how
So
it was
you
like.
got it,
Yeah, it's like, okay.
Yeah, that we didn't have any income or anything coming in, so yes.
Any old business? I don't believe we do. Next up is, we gotta hire Patrick. We're getting to the point where, we have to make some decisions here when it comes to, a tip or the existing tip or a new tip. And we're gonna need some guidance on that. Patrick has graciously offered his services at the same rates as what the council is paying through the end of this year. So we'll worry about next year, so. Anybody want to do a motion to hire Patrick?
And our engagement letter just continues, and then we'll discuss
Oh, it does?
Yeah, it just continues, and then until you fire us.
I was
or
gonna say, how do we get rid of you?
Yeah, it just continues until you get rid of us, or we, periodically, I'd say every 3 or 4, couple of years, 2 years, 3 years, we bump it up $5 or $10 our rate. So it's not every year, generally speaking.
I do have a question, so will we be invoiced 2 separate invoices, one for this, okay,
That's how we.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we hire Patrick and his firm to console the redevelopment commission.
I second.
I would just indicate too, it'll be myself and Eric mostly.
Okay.
Eric's been, he probably, for council meetings, he's probably 10 to 20%, and I'm at the other 80% or so, but we both deal with stuff outside of the actual meetings, and we'll just we have 6 attorneys in our office. It would be a pretty unlikely scenario that it would be somebody here at a meeting other than myself or Eric, but we have more than enough attorneys to cover anything that you need to, and I'm pretty much always available on email, so.
Yeah, for sure. How do you vote, Rob?
Yes.
Yes.
Tracy?
Yes,
Steve?
Yes,
Yes. Vicky says yes. So, okay. You're on the clock, I guess, right? Jump around here a little bit. As you can see, Mark and I have sort of been talking TIF a lot here for a while. So I just went out there. This is the letter. This is on this map here. You guys got in your packet. Yeah. So I just wanted to see what the TIF districts look like in Tippecanoe County. And this is just, and I really had a hard time finding 3865 because it's not listed in the legend over here. But I'm assuming it's right beside 42 there. Is it? Okay.
I would think so. That
Yeah.
looks about right.
Okay. So, what caught my attention too was this big green TIF down here, number 27. And if you look at that, that follows all the way down 65. So, on the next map, it's a town limits of our town, and it sort of gives a better view of where all this TIF district 27, which is called McCarthy Southeast Industrial TIF. It covers a lot of territory. And on the next page, it shows how close it is to Dayton. And there was also the thoroughfare plan. John was in here. It was a comprehensive plan for Tippecanoe County. It was a draft, and I'm sure that whoever was here noticed that on that map, it's showing Yost Road being tentatively suggested built from Haggerty across 38 and over the tracks, and it looks like it's going. I couldn't understand why. Well, now I see why. It's because all that huge area is Am I reading that right, Mark?
Well, that had been talked about since the 1980s. That road going, Yost Road, crossing 38. At one time, there actually was a cross there, and somehow it got disused, and now I don't think it would be allowed currently. So, this is not, there's nothing in stone on this,
What, as far as the road?
as far as the road goes.
Right.
But it's been part of it's been part of a plan for a very, very long time, since the early 80s. And I don't know that it's necessarily because of this TIF district here, this McCarty Southeast Industrial TIF district that you're talking about, which is in blue here. That's right up to Dayton proper. I don't know that the road is put on this map specifically for that,
Yeah.
but
When was that TIF developed? What was the start date of that?
the McCarty Southeast Industrial, that I don't know. I believe that also encompasses the Carr property, all of the land north of Dayton up there that we currently or previously were in a joint TIF with the county with, and then we lost that situation, and so I believe that this is possibly part of that TIF as well. So how long has it been in place? Probably for a while. I think there was some question about what happens on this side of 65 where it's showing this here. This is in our water jurisdiction area, so potentially
Is or is not?
it is.
Okay.
It is in our water jurisdiction area, as well as everything north of town limits all the way up to Haggerty, except for the Carr property. So, one of the questions that Vicki and I had yesterday is, what happens if we annex a piece of property that's currently in a TIF with the county? How is the distribution of taxes done at that point? And I did a little bit of research on it. Can't always believe everything you read on the internet, but basically what it said was, if you're doing the annexation, you need to state, if you plan to TIF that area, you need to state that you're going to TIF that area, and then potentially then that TIF reverts over to you. The sticking point is if a bond has already been issued, okay, and so can that property be split off if that's part of a larger bond issue that's already in place? And that did happen on some of this McCarty Industrial, but the benefits of that bond were not on any of the areas that are in our water jurisdiction. So I don't know, this is probably for a longer conversation somewhere, but it's probably something that should be looked at so that we at least have some kind of idea if and when that situation ever occurs, what the best way to handle it is. Because if we annex property that's already TIF'd by somebody else, we would certainly want to gather the taxes from that property and not have somebody else's TIF take that tax money, benefit from that.
Does that happen?
I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my
No.
head. I would need
No.
to look into that, or we would need to look into that a little bit. I have not, for the redevelopment commissions that we've represented, I have not had that issue come up where there's been annexation and what is potentially being annexed as part of another governmental entity, whether it's the county or another unit next door's part of the TIF allocation area, or I haven't had that come up, so I'd have to look at this.
So according to this map, Baker Farms West is not part of that TIF. And hopefully that is the case, but that might be something to just confirm. According to online tax things, it's not being shown as being part of this McCarty Industrial TIF. But I guess we would like to know that for sure before we rezone it, you know, so.
So which brings us to, Dayton. This map here is showing, the Adams Road property that is potentially going to be, hopefully, being developed with retail and apartments. Patrick, what would be the process to, okay, that cannot be added to the current TIF, correct?
So, if what I'm seeing on page 4, that shows the boundaries of the allocation area, which this does not appear as if it falls in within the TIF allocation area. In 2000, when the RDC was established, the council probably passed an ordinance creating the economic development area and what that encompassed. Do we have that ordinance or know where it is?
I could probably find it.
Okay. Because I think generally speaking, depending on what the economic development area is, you could create TIF districts within that economic development area. Who is the attorney that created the original economic development area and carved off this TIF allocation area towards 65?
Ice Miller, maybe?
Ice Miller, okay.
If you're asking if this would have been possibly part of that, I can almost certainly tell you that it wasn't.
Okay.
Everything that was put into that TIF is currently on this sheet, that the one sheet where I showed all of the different TIFs on there. All those properties are what is currently in that allocation area.
So, generally speaking, I think if you've got an area that is outside of the allocation area, and outside of the economic development area that was originally set up by statute, create another one. Whether or not you could expand the economic development area to encompass that, either way, no matter what route you're going to go, you're going to need an Ice Miller type law firm to do that. Whether one of the indie firms, whether it's Barnes or Taft or for bond issuance, for expanding TIF allocation areas, for creating new TIF allocation areas. Doing that process, you're going to want bond counsel involved in that, number one. And number two, more important than engaging someone who would be bond counsel that you would work with frequently for a project like this that comes up, you're going to want a municipal advisor.
Yeah.
And that's probably the most important thing you guys need to do. Have you worked with anybody in the past historically?
No, well, not that I'm aware of. I'm sure that they did initially. I don't.
Well, when they set it up, they had to do some projections of what was gonna, what could happen.
And I think it's important now that money is starting to be generated, that there is some TIF revenue coming into the RDC, that you start a relationship with a municipal advisor. They're going to be essential for this deal over there, potentially. There are several. The town has historically used Cronin Associates, I think. West Lafayette uses them. Jamestown, another town that we represent, uses them. There are others. Baker Tilly provides that kind of service. I think Carroll County's RDC uses Baker Tilly, I think. So, that's going to be probably step number 1A, and 1B is, I think, starting a dialogue with a municipal advisor and the bond council. Because, there's real money here, and you've got to start that process, particularly if there's new development in the pipeline. If bonds need to be issued for infrastructure, if, for the abatement, I think you're gonna want those folks queued in, because it's important that you have those kinds of specialists that do that stuff all the time and get it right.
Patrick, do we have to worry about there being any kind of conflict if we use them and they're also representing West Lafayette or Lafayette?
Are you talking about the
Advisor.
I wouldn't think so. That would be a question for them, but generally speaking, they don't really do conflicts typically. They're not lawyers. They're the financial people. They run the projections for how much money is this going to generate over how many years, how much revenue, best case, worst case, moderate case, you want a bond issued, how much of a bond are you going to need, what's the payments for, that kind of stuff. They do the money side, so I would guess that they probably don't run into very many conflicts.
Okay.
The big law firms who do the bond stuff, they have 1,000 lawyers, and they never, how they avoid conflicts, I have no idea, frankly, but generally speaking, I don't know that I've run into a conflict come up with bond counsel saying, hey, we can't get involved in this because we've represented somebody else. Because generally it's at its heart, like a bond issuance or something like that, it's not a contentious, you're not conflict. You're not adverse to somebody. So that whole process. Yeah, but that would be a question for them.
Okay.
We work with a lot of bond counsel, a lot of financial advisors, or municipal advisors. My suggestion would be that you get 2 of you, and we start a dialogue with 1 or 2 of each of them, and you decide on the one that those 2 of you are comfortable with after meeting with them, and then you have them come to your next RDC meeting and talk about, we have a discussion with them on what's potentially in the pipeline. You get some of those documents in order, like the ordinance that originally created the economic development area. We make sure we understand where the TIF allocation area is. Make sure we know where potential development is. And then with that team, you structure what sort of incentives and what sort of money you're going to need, and what sort of money this could theoretically generate, and what makes the most sense for the RDC and for the town.
Great, cool. So that's pretty much like an impact, the financial impact, is that pretty much what that would encompass also? Do
Yeah.
they do all of that then?
That is what, to the extent that you need, like for a bond issuance, you're going to have to have like a financial impact. It's sort of the same. They do that for annexation. That's something that would be prepared by the municipal advisor when that's necessary, or when you need to have one of those prepared. What is the best strategy if you're talking about that prospective development over there? What is the best strategy for getting that into getting those properties within a TIF allocation area? and whether or not that's a project that is feasible. I think that's a dialogue that you have with us, with bond counsel, and with the municipal advisor. So.
Does the developers get involved in that?
I think it depends on, I would probably get your ducks in a row before you start having conversations with the developers on what you can or can't do for them. I think you gotta have a pretty good
Yeah,
idea
I know.
of what's actually feasible.
Yeah,
From the perspective of the RDC and what it can do.
right.
I think step number one is, the Dayton RDC only relatively recently started accumulating real money through what looks like one property that's been developed and that generates a good chunk of TIF money every year that goes into the RDC. And just looking at the list, there's not much in TIF revenue coming from any of those other parcels in that allocation area. But 90 grand a year is real money, or whatever that was. And I think that probably gives you some flexibility in dealing with stuff like that. The problem is whether or not that money in that TIF allocation area could be used for another separate TIF allocation area.
Up here, that was one of the questions I don't.
We'd have to explore that and
Okay.
what makes the most sense from the town town RDC's perspective, and see what options are available. And I think that's a dialogue with, like I said, with us, with bond counsel, and with the municipal advisor. I think there are probably a lot of different directions potentially go. But I think step number one is to, as an organization, the Dayton RDC, step number one is to get organized, get your ducks in a row before, and have a good understanding of what can be done and what can't be done. And frankly, I don't, sitting here today, because I haven't looked at the original ordinance, I haven't looked through some of the historical documents for the RDC. I haven't gone through and looked at the different parcels that comprise the allocation area. So I think there's some fact finding to do first, and getting the right team together for the RDC going forward.
All right.
And you're not always going to need bond counsel, and you're not always going to need your municipal advisor, but it's
Like from the, that's one
From
of
the
the
start
first.
you do.
Yeah, that's one of the first questions I spoke with a couple of redevelopment, presidents, and that's probably one of the first things out of their mouth is, well, do you have a plan?
and you've got you got to have a good team in place to help you craft that plan and an idea of what you want to get accomplished. It's, what you want to get accomplished might involve abatements, it might not. It might involve other incentives, but you gotta figure out what your options are before you start deciding which option you're going to go with. So.
All right, moving on here, I included this map here of what the TIF initially started out as. And this top area up here is what we lost to Lafayette. So we're just working with this area right here, right now. At the bottom there, underneath that line. Okay, the 2026 spending plan, I attached what we had discussed last year for this year. A lot of this is, and really we just have 4 areas that we allocated any money to. And do you know anything, Cindy, that was paid?
Out of your spending plan, I didn't see anything, but I'm
Okay.
not up on this stuff. I know the police has not been paid out of that at all. Their, was it 25,000? Yeah, so they haven't been paid out of that. So I don't know what else was on your spending plan.
Oh, okay. Well, a lot of this is self-explanatory. Debt payments, we have none. Payments to eligible entities for education and training programs. We had, I think education and training programs was 5. But after I got to reading a little bit more on this, that these training plans was like for the school corporations. I thought it was like training to go to a redevelopment thing, but I don't know if you guys want to allocate any money to that, unless we find out, or, and I do believe that once something is allocated, it can be moved around.
And you can allocate later
Yeah,
also.
right. Capital expenditures, we had none last year. Grants and contributions, we didn't have any. Professional services, now this is like the legal fees. With that being said, we should have a fair amount there if we're going to get into the weeds here a little bit, shouldn't we?
Yeah, I mean, first question is, for our bill, how do you want that submitted monthly? I know you guys won't meet monthly, almost certainly. For some RDCs, we do it quarterly or biannually even. I mean, it doesn't really matter from our perspective.
Does Cindy, does
Do
she
you have a
have the same,
preference?
Oh, well, and I would imagine now that you're starting this and trying to figure out, they will be using you more than, I mean, monthly, I would imagine, to get everything started with your advisors and everything, but, I mean, monthly is easier, but especially starting now, I
And
would
you have to
think.
remember that they receive claims that they'll have to approve.
I was gonna say, the question is,
So,
Yeah.
are we gonna meet quarterly, are we gonna meet biannually, because it has to be approved by the whole
before I
group,
can
right?
pay it,
Yes,
that's right.
So it's just like the council's gotta be
right?
approved, so if we're gonna start meeting quarterly,
So we
we're
should,
definitely not meeting monthly.
yeah,
But I mean, if we're gonna do quarterly or biannually, that's what the real determining factor is gonna be, because we have to approve it before she can pay it.
where are you leaning, quarterly or 6 months?
Heck, we're meeting annually now, so biannually is still
Okay,
more meetings,
we could
but
just do biannually.
I mean, you're ensuring you have 2 meetings per year, right?
You can always call biannual for
Okay.
stuff that needs to get done.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
yeah, if all of a sudden we start rocking and rolling, we can call a meeting.
Okay, alright, so,
But for the sake of billing, if we set it biannually,
okay,
Okay.
alright,
So we did change the bylaws early on. Originally, it was a monthly meeting on the bylaws, and it didn't seem like that would make much sense. So we changed the bylaws so it read that as needed, basically, is what it said. I mean, you could make that more restrictive or possibly just leave it the way it is, so.
then we need it biannually to approve his bill.
mhm,
So it's as needed still works, right?
mhm.
Do you
Or
have
do
to
we need to be more
advertise?
specific and say biannually and set up when those biannual dates are?
Do you have
What's
to
this- what's this
advertise?
If we're gonna start, if we do it biannually because of the billing, we need to know when that billing's gonna come in and maybe set our meetings then.
Do we have to make notification of RDC meetings?
Yeah, I thought about that a little bit yesterday. So with the town council, we state that we're gonna have a meeting once a month. We publish that in the paper, at the beginning of the year, or the end of the previous year, saying when it's gonna be, and then it's done. Chances are that they probably should be published, I would guess.
This is a public meeting.
That's what I was-
You guys have to, you gotta publish notice of every public meeting.
This
So
one was
as
just in
needed.
the window.
Yeah.
So as needed doesn't really work then if we need to be publishing for a public meeting.
Well, yeah, you just need to make sure you do it.
Minimum publication.
Mean,
Right.
You get
days
something in
to-
the paper that says, hey, we're having a meeting 2 weeks from tonight, and here
Right.
it is.
Yeah, and generally speaking, I mean, you set your regular meetings, whatever that is, if it's once every quarter, once every month, twice a year. At the beginning of the year, you send notification like most towns and cities do and say, this is when our regularly scheduled meetings are. If we have a special meeting, we'll
Handle that.
notice that and call it and give, the proper notice under the code section for publishing notice for a meeting. But yeah, this is a public meeting. This is a commission of the town, so you guys have to notice those meetings like any other public meeting.
Okay. So, okay, there's some numbers out for the professional services. We was 20 last year.
Did we spend any of that?
No.
What type of fees are we talking about for the type of services that you're describing for that initial kickoff? And then is there a retainer associated with it?
No, there's not a retainer. We just bill as we do hourly work. I mean, it's hard for me to say with exact, this is how much our fees are gonna be, and I certainly can't tell you what the fees for some of those other folks are gonna be. You'll have to have that dialogue with them.
What's the fees for the town council? What did we pay last quarter?
I feel like it's probably it depends on the month. Some months higher, some lower, probably anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 a month, I would guess.
We're not gonna be anywhere near that. Not right off the bat, but, so, 20K would probably still be,
Still cover.
And we can always make an appropriation, add more money
Right.
into that.
or you could, if you think you're gonna use more, you make it 30, but we don't have to go crazy.
Yeah.
I gotta say, once we start doing more, we can increase it.
Well, like Rob said, we can
Yeah,
allocate more money to.
exactly.
I think our last bill for the town was 44 something, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, 4,300 maybe.
It's somewhere around
I
that.
didn't know if you had an idea of the other two specialty areas of what type of fees.
Yeah, I mean, I could
Yeah,
say,
just in
Do they cost
general.
more or less than lawyers?
I mean, for bond counsel, normally if you're issuing a bond, that's paid out of the bond. And, what's paid out of the bond is gonna be more than what your local counsel's hourly rate is. I mean, it's, same generally if you're doing, for bond counsel, if you're issuing a bond for the municipal advisor. I mean, that's gonna be paid out of the bond. Our office, for our local stuff, if a bond is being issued by the RDC, our review of documents and issue of local counsel's opinion letter and all that stuff, that's rinky-dink peanuts, so we usually just charge it hourly. For one of the towns, there was just a $4 million bond that was issued. I think we just billed it hourly, and I think our hourly bill for that was like $4,000 or something versus, significantly, but we don't do much work on it. For things like, establishing a new economic development area or expanding a TIF allocation area or something along those lines, I would guess it's probably that work would be hourly, or they might do it on a flat fee. I will have to have that conversation and see what that ends up being. But so you can always
So if you wanna,
appropriate more money for that.
yeah, so we can, or if you want to goose it up to 30K, we can do that.
Yeah, I think I feel a little more comfortable with 30K. How's everybody else feel about that?
I would say for our bill for Carroll County's RDC, which you know, that's bigger and probably certainly more active than Dayton has been over the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, I wanna say our bill is probably biannually, there's every 6 months, maybe 7 to 10,000
Yeah.
or something like that, would be my guess.
Do we need to make a motion, or can we just change the number?
We will move the motion after we get done.
You gonna do the whole thing? Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else have any questions about that? Okay. Expenditures related to capital, no, for police and fire services, okay, here we go. We allocated $25,000 for 2025, and it's my understanding that has not been dispersed.
True. It will be.
It will be.
We had to do some research to make sure
Okay.
it was real. Our consultant wasn't sure, so the plan is to, right away, we'll be taking it out if we can.
So, how will you know then next year I mean, is it done, like lump sum, like the first of the month, or is it?
Well, we're bi-weekly, so it will, I mean, I don't know why it hadn't come out sooner unless, it just wasn't thought of. So, I don't think it'll be used right away. I think it'll probably be later in the year. We'll take out the general fund and then, you know.
Is that, okay, it isn't like we hand you $25,000 and then you do.
No, it's still
Okay.
in yours. We will just take that amount out. We won't take it all out at once. We'll take it out like, 2 or 3, 4 pay
Okay.
periods and, yeah.
Okay, alright.
And what was that money used for again?
For, offset some of the expenses for the, police salaries.
For the salaries?
It also says salary and benefits when I was looking at it a little bit more, so I don't know what that would encompass. So, throw it out there, 25,000 for this year. How does everybody feel about that?
Is that full 25,000 gonna be distributed this year?
Yes.
No,
Yes,
even,
plan.
this, we're talking about for
For
26, right?
26,
Yeah,
yeah.
but I understand, is the full amount that was allocated for
This is-
2025, that gonna be?
Yeah.
That full amount's gonna be distributed?
Did we increase it from the previous year?
We've never had to do this. Last year was the
Last year
first.
was-
First, it was allowed, right? It
Yeah.
was, it came
Right.
down from the
They recently
state, yeah.
allowed TIF funds to be used for police and fire stuff. I think in the last, I don't remember state.
Does any of that money go towards fire contract, the town's fire contract?
It wasn't allocated last year for that, it was only allocated for the police last year. It could be,
We can.
some of it,
Mhm.
some money could be allocated for fire as well. So, I don't know how that affects our budget. And I don't know if it does. It's kind of an interesting question, I don't know.
Friday, I'm talking to Janet, so I'm writing down questions for her, so I'll ask her about that too.
Yeah.
Cause I don't know if that was in the budget. I mean, last year it wouldn't have been. She didn't say anything about it, so.
Can we get back, do we have to make a decision on this today?
Well, we have to have a meeting to vote on it. Right?
Right.
So, kinda, unless we're gonna have another meeting.
Well, did we say last year for this to be coming out, how much, whether it was all for police? Or did we say we were splitting it between the two?
It was all for police.
It was
That's
all
all
for
police, yeah.
police. Shouldn't we be giving something for the fire too then?
Not necessarily. It can be distributed based on what we allocated for.
Yeah, I mean, if your general budget was to cover all the fire contracts through the town of Dayton, then there's no reason to offset it into this program, right? But the reason why you allocated the money for the police was to boost that. Is that correct?
To boost their salaries on that.
Right.
And is the fire contract from last year to this year increased?
Oh, yeah.
It did, yeah, it increased about 8%. It was approved at the last meeting. So that should be considered in the budget for next year.
So the fire is already taken care of. So this is just to help out for the police then?
Yes. Well, that's for you guys to decide.
When will you be doing salaries?
It won't be too much longer. We'll have to be starting
Because
to
that
have
would
that
help
discussion.
decide.
Yeah, so whatever we decide today, or tonight hopefully, it's going to help you in that process, correct?
Yes, and so I haven't been involved in any of the budget process yet, so I don't know what Janet's thoughts are on that, because that had to be considered in part of the budget as well, and certain salaries as well.
She hasn't started working on our budget, if that helps, other than she and I sat down and talked about it, and everything is looking really well from last year, from 2025 this year, I guess, but what she had allocated, so, it won't be changed a whole lot from
But there was
last
a
year.
preliminary budget was due to the state by the end of June.
Already got that.
Right. Okay. I don't know what the allocations are on it, so.
I'm gonna go with 25,000 again. I don't know how people will vote on it. Just write that in and see where it
Can we
lands.
increase it if we need to?
I don't know. Payment of operating expenses generally for non-TIF, that's 0. Like military bases, non-related eligible efficiency programs. I don't have much clue what that was. Permissible reimbursement for employee training expenses of industrial facilities. Yeah. Permissible reimbursement to the town of Dayton. Here, the permissible reimbursements, it shows, last year $8,000, but there was no, guideline as to what it truly was. I guess if you could probably find out, we had $8,000 there, and I think we just, would that be permissible reimbursements to the town of Dayton? Or just permissible reimbursements?
Well, I would guess if the town incurred some TIF-related expenses, then they would want to be
Reimbursed.
You know, whatever the law allows them to be reimbursed, they would probably want to be reimbursed. That's what I would guess that this line item is for.
Okay.
Does the RDC expected or should be reimbursing the town for Cindy's time handling TIP and RDC related expenses? Or is that?
That's a good question. I don't know.
That I would have to look at. I mean, there's a list in the statute of
Is acceptable.
what's acceptable and what you can use TIF funds for. Whether or not it's to reimburse the town for someone's or part of someone's salary, particularly as it relates to the town clerk treasurer, when this is one of your statutory responsibilities to be here.
It is, yes.
Yeah, I would
Oh.
say probably not, but I'd have to look.
And
That was the
last
only
year
expense
was
I could
for
think
them.
of off the top of my head that we might incur would be if we were going to try to reimburse. them
But
at
you'll
the time.
have some advertising costs now, if you're gonna advertise. I don't know if that,
Yeah, and you know, depending on who.
Yeah, but not $8,000.
big ads, I don't.
No, I mean, if it doesn't get used, we get it back, so it's not like we're.
Yeah, it stays in your fund.
So we're gonna keep it 8? Go with 8.
Permissible reimbursement, sure, why not?
Okay.
Well, that's, the old one just says permissible reimbursements, doesn't say the town of Dayton,
I know, but
but I guess it's the same thing.
probably, you're gonna go with that, yeah. Expenditures from proceeds of bonds, that's 0. For property tax levy, 0. For state and federal tax levy, 0, and other anticipated expenses.
Which would be what, Patrick? What's permissible in that,
Of as far as like what is
anticipated
operating
expenses, yeah.
costs of the RDC. I mean, you know.
So if we wanna start catering the meetings or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's
So we could probably keep it at what we had.
yeah. I mean,
The
you can keep it
22.
if you use it.
Did
You
we
use it.
spend any of that money though?
I don't think so.
So, could we lower that amount
Probably.
to like $5,000, and then if we need to, suddenly there's expenses that come up? And I would say the same thing with the permissible. If there was no expenses that came out of that, we're looking at potentially advertising. Do you drop that down to 2,500?
Well, but that comes out of permissible expenses to town of Dayton,
Okay.
because we're paying Cindy who's using, I would assume, Dayton's funds. I mean, I think we could, other anticipated expenses, obviously, we could drop it down from 22 to 10 or something like that. If you want to do that.
I think 10's a good compromise, probably.
I like that kind
So not 8 or 10.
Tell you the list.
Yeah. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So what did we decide on, police and fire?
I'm just going to say 25. Everybody, I guess, you know, if I'm saying 25, and if we have a motion to accept the quantities that we've come up with, and somebody seconds and vote, we'll see.
Do you anticipate police salaries going up in 2026?
I would hope they go up a little bit, yeah.
So should we move that to 30,000 instead of 25,000 to offset any increase in salaries?
Well, now, unlike a lot of these, if whatever we allocate, that's going away.
Right.
So I think if we, and I think 30K is fine if that's what we want to do. But then I would say it's going to go towards police salary / fire. What do you think? Because obviously, police salaries are going to go up. I mean, that's, how much we don't know, but they should go up something. But we're not.
So, again, if you don't spend it, you don't necessarily, if you allocate it on here, you don't necessarily have to spend it. So it could be, we need to look at our budget and see how that's gonna affect our tax rates and all these other things. And so once we get all these things thrown in this pot, then we'll know for sure. I mean, you guys can allocate pretty much whatever you want to this, but you don't have to spend all of it. They wouldn't have to take the whole 25,000 out this year, although they can and probably should. But if you put 25 for next year, then it may be the same scenario. If you put 30, maybe they only take 25.
But when we allocate this fund, it's not like we have to revote for it to be paid out, right?
No,
Yeah, once
It's allocated,
there,
it goes
they-
away.
it's-
So we have, at that point, we have little control over it leaving, right?
we-
Yes, the town council could say, hey, we only want to take 27.5, or whatever, but we don't longer have a say in
I
it
believe
going,
so,
so
yeah.
I think we should look at it with, if we're gonna put, whatever we put in this number is being spent,
It's gone.
it's gone.
Well, when you're figuring salaries, for example, you also need to think about all the things that that salary includes, like you're having to pay out, like the increase in insurance. Insurance is going up. I know it is at Purdue. So, you know, that's something to think about when you're figuring in salaries.
Well, so, but there's, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So it's different though when we're dealing with the salary ordinance and what the town's going to have to allocate out of all of its funds. This is just like a little kicker on the back end of, I guess is how I want to look at it. Because of the involvement of the police have in the TIF area, it justifies taking some of that TIF money to, you know, be used towards their salaries. But it doesn't necessarily need to go hand in hand with whatever the increase in salaries would necessarily be. Maybe that needs to be made up on the town side. So this is a little added kicker, if you will, that will help alleviate some of what the town will need to do to come up with, you know, increased wages for these people.
I just know what I've got coming in the face.
No, but the Mark's right in the fact that we're not, the RDC isn't paying for the police. We're just saying, they work in our areas, they're part of us being a good place to come and put your business, and we want to help. So it doesn't have to be, I was just doing the same thing you're thinking, okay, well, so what is a, you know, normal increase, blah, 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 trying to figure that out. We can kick it up to 30K and then they can use it however they see.
It's basically an investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I mean, because if you think about it, the better our fire and police protection is, the more likely somebody's gonna build something somewhere because they know, A, the taxes are great, but look at the top quality police force they've got and, you know, and the fire protection they've got and how well that's handled and how they've continued to get better as time has gone. You know, Sheffield Fire is doing more training. I know the marshal and his team is doing more training. They're constantly trying to be the best they can absolutely be, and that does help us draw more business as well as more residents into this area. So, and that's what this is all about, right? Is getting more people into town.
So you would bump it to 30, but also include the fire?
Well, we give the 30K to the town. They'll allocate it.
You
where they
have
want.
to say though, police and fire, I believe, from what I read today. You can't just say to,
Well, this says police and fire services,
yeah.
but we have to tell you how much is going to go each way.
No, you just have to say
Right,
police
right.
and fire,
So-
because last time you just said police though.
Right.
Right, so if we give them 30K and the council decides to use 2K of that to pay for the fire contract, that's up to them.
Isn't that better said that 30,000 goes
Yeah.
towards public safety, right?
I was gonna
Because
say
then
public
it's
safety is a
all
better choice
encompassing,
of words.
There you
Right,
go.
Mhm.
so that then there is no
That's what it says.
distinction between
Yeah, I like
police
that.
and fire, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's up to them. We're saying, hey, we wanna help, here, do with it what you want for these two services. At some point, cause I know that we're gonna start looking at a new cruiser as well. We may could put some of that aside for that, or we figure it out, but just either way, we're just saying, hey, we wanna help, here's this.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion to approve or disapprove this spending plan for 2026.
So what did we,
Well, I was just gonna read off, professional services at 30,000. Expenses for public safety, 30,000. Permissible reimbursements to the town of Dayton, 10,000. And other anticipated expenses, 5,000. So that's 60, 70.
wait, I'm
I
confused.
think we were actually.
Yeah, I thought I was down for 8K for reimbursements to the town
Okay,
and 10K for other
I
anticipated
thought we changed
expenses.
that to 10,
yeah,
The 8 or the 10?
the 10,
the 10, the permissible reimbursement.
because you said you liked to round
Okay,
numbers.
yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so 10K and 10K.
Oh, you mean other anticipated expenses?
Right.
10?
That's
No,
what
I thought that
we
was
had.
5.
Yeah, I had 5.
We had talked about.
Guess I didn't hear that.
So.
So 5K.
Okay. So I'm gonna read those again. Professional expenses, 30,000, safety, public safety, 30,000, permissible reimbursements, 10,000, anticipated expenses, 5,000, for a total of 75,000. I make a motion to accept those amounts as stated.
And education is now 0?
Yes.
And I second that motion.
How do you vote?
Yes.
Tracy? I vote yes.
Yes.
Nancy? Steve?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Okay. It's throwing me off, I think I'm 7, I think. Okay. Public comments? Like, Lisa, anybody's got any comments, issue comments? No? Other business? No? Meeting's adjourned.
Initial something.
Yes, we have to initial, here just at the bottom, yeah. Do we have to initial all pages on this?
Yes.
Okay,
Initial in the corner.
okay.
And I would assume we need to initial and or sign the payment thing, right?
Yeah.
Did you already do that?
For people to talk to municipal advisors and
Yeah.
council
Me.
who wants to do that.
Who wants to do that?
We do all the pages.
I didn't, okay. Steve his time is allocated, is just Tuesday and Wednesday, and so is Rob's, just Tuesday and Wednesday. Anybody, volunteer?
Just need a couple people
Okay.
to.
What do you
Well,
think?
if we can work it into Tuesday, Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve, okay.
Preferably,
You like Wednesdays better.
well, I don't care, Tuesday, Wednesday's
Okay.
fine, just as long as it's not, the third Tuesday or Wednesday of the month and whatever else is coming up.
Oh,
You
that's
got
good.
that other thing?
Who's?
And I'll start a
who's
dialogue and I'll CC Steve and
I don't know.
Vicky on it.
Stealing my thing,
I'll
man.
CC you guys on that.
Oh, okay.
And send a couple of people over that
Okay.
we reached out to.
I wrote on it, maybe with it here. Yeah, we must initial that, and then I have to.
You wanna start down there?
Initial that.
Okay, so we've got, somebody didn't sign all these, I've got 5 initials on the front,
Rob has
and then only 4
sign
on
one.
the rest. There you go.
In the, right?
Thanks,
Yeah.
Al.
And then, Mark, I have to present this at the council, at a council meeting, correct?
I believe so. Well,
Did
we do that last
you did last year, but it was in the spring, I thought.
I'll pay. Oh, sure.
You'll need to look through the requirements, redevelopment.
I remember standing at the
Reporting
podium, it was a
requirements.
long meeting, I remember that, and I was like the last.
You're gonna have to narrow it down.
Yeah, I know.
My,
And I was like towards the end, huh?
my recollection is that you
Cindy.
Yeah,
to
okay,
the council.
all right.
I can double check. But
Rob needs to initial
Yep.
that.
Patrick, we got scratch offs on this, does she need to initial the scratch offs?
doesn't hurt.
Do we all need to do it, or just
Doesn't
her?
hurt.
There you go,
Doesn't hurt.
Okay,
start over again.
all right.
Or if you have a fresh sheet with no writing in it, we can start with a fresh sheet.
I didn't, I have a pile of them at home. It figures, right?
I scratched off on mine too, otherwise we could use that, but.
Does anybody have any final questions for me before I get out of here?
How's the
I already
baby?
signed this.
They're
I signed
they're
the
both
plan.
doing well, I think.
Initial, the ones that.
Sleeping all night, or are you
initial-
still?
Yeah, he's not bad. I get up at
That
like
we
5,
done.
and that's about when he gets up, so
Yeah.
it works out
Like
pretty
these?
well.
No,
Yeah,
he's not teething yet, is he? He's not
No,
old enough. They don't do that.
so he's only, he'll be 5 months old.
Is it 5 months already?
Yeah, 5 months old, September
Is that everybody?
4th, so,
no.
yeah. The other one's 2, so he's, yeah, he was raising himself
Rob,
pretty much.
sign that?
Yes.
Couldn't dinner, you know.
Exactly, exactly.